Hi, my name is Megan Sharp, and this is my digital portfolio. To begin going through the portfolio, I just want to overview some of the components that are within it. There are four main parts. The first part is going through a technology lesson that I went through with my kids. The second part is looking at a technology tool project, having my kids utilize a technology tool. Three is a lesson that I observed of our AP biology teacher using technology for a pre-lab. And four is looking into more about Flipgrid. Getting into my technology lesson, what I had my freshman biology classes do as a fun way to introduce them into a new topic on viruses and bacteria after we discussed information about cells is they were working in their groups of four, and they were given basically just a link to a website, and basically they had to break out of that website. So it was a virus digital breakout. Looking at the breakout, so here's what the website looks like. So it says virus breakout. Can you find the vaccine in time? A virus has been released from the CDC and is spreading throughout LHS. Solve these puzzles will give you the key to the vaccine that can save your group from the virus. So basically, what they had to do is work in their groups. A lot of them at the beginning were very confused, but they had to find in here were hidden links. As you can see, mosquitoes linked to something to unlock this form. So they were looking for a 9-letter word lock, a date lock, a 6-letter word lock, a 5-digit lock, a 2-digit lock, and a 4-letter word lock. So as you saw, I was reading up here, like the word vaccine was a link. So from this link, they read an article about the smallpox vaccine, which is something that we do discuss in class. And they also got their date lock from this one, so May 14th, 1796. So that was one of the clues they got. And basically, they were working as a team to see who could break out of this website the quickest. So some of the pictures were different links. This was another link to a Google form that they used with their textbook to help them answer these questions. And basically, once they got all these questions correct, when they submitted the form, you can enter in like a little code for them to use, and that was another clue for them to enter onto the form. The characteristics of life, this linked to Reach and Grow, which was a 9-letter word lock that they had to do, and basically there were prizes for kids that were able to break out of this the fastest. Overall, with this activity, my kids seem to have a blast with it. They really liked the challenge because I know one of the big trends is breaking out of a room. So kind of doing it virtually, they really liked, and they liked communicating with one another. One of the biggest challenges I faced was just the time aspect. Um, I had some groups that were just all about it and they got it right away and they zipped right through it. And I had some groups that for the life of them, they just couldn't figure out the clues. So that was the biggest challenge. And what do I do with the kids that finished in 10 minutes? And what do I do with the kids where it takes them half the period to break out of the form? So that's something that I kind of need to look upon myself on kind of how do I differentiate that for different kids? Or maybe do I just manipulate the groups a little bit better? Another challenge that I faced is just in the time aspect. It took a long time to actually make that digital breakout. Um, Even though the kids really liked it, it just is time consuming on the other end of the teacher. But it really is a fun way for them to be introduced into a topic or even to use as review. Improvements that I would do is probably in the format of the actual website. It was just some of the links were just hard for the kids to find. So like links that were kind of hidden where they had to scroll over the sentence, I would have made that maybe more bolded or italicized that word or underlined, just so it was more evident that it would have been a clue for them to link on. With this activity and its relation to WIDA, it related to WIDA Standard 1 about social and instructional language, helping ELL kids work on their social language with their peers and instructional as well. It also links to Standard 4, which is the language of science. So helping them use that science language in connection with what they are talking about. In relation to other classes, I would say that this activity really linked to the reading and literacy class that I took over this summer, just because I really remember the teacher stressing that the students that are doing the talking are the ones doing the learning. And I feel like this activity really got the kids talking and interacting with one another and working on their speaking and listening skills and reading skills at the same time. So it was really just a fun activity for all students across the board. The technology tool project that I did is I had my kids make a Prezi. So again, within my freshman biology classes, what I had them do though with their Prezis is I kind of integrated that into a jigsaw. So where they were working in bigger groups and then they broke down into smaller groups. And basically within their smaller groups is they were researching a different pattern of inheritance. And the different patterns of inheritance is they were either looking at multiple alleles, sex-linked traits, codominance and incomplete dominance, and they were creating a Prezi presentation off of their pattern of inheritance. What I was looking for in their presentation, it was really simple. They just basically had to define their pattern of inheritance and go through a Punnett square example of it and be able to explain how it differs from a typical Mendelian trait. So looking at a group's example of multiple alleles that they put together, so this group did multiple alleles. So the first slide is just giving a basic definition for the group on what multiple alleles are. And for this group, I gave them kind of more of a guiding, which is also what I would probably do for ELF students as well, is I really guided them on the specific example that I wanted them to give. Because again, they're teaching this to their peers, so I wanted to make sure that they were giving the correct example in the correct way so they understood it, but also so their classmates will understand it as they teach it as well. So just giving examples of the different blood types, going through different pictures with them too. The nice thing that I really like about these pictures that they pulled out is it really shows the genotypes for each blood type, which is something that is challenging for students to understand. And then also going through their Punnett square example. And then the last thing they mention is how it's different from a typical Mendelian trait or typical pattern of inheritance, because there's more than one allele that encodes for the trait. Overall, with this activity, the students really seem to enjoy making a Prezi. Not a lot of kids have ever made one before, because I feel in a lot of classes, when it comes to using digital media for presentations, a lot of teachers use Google Slides because it's just the easiest thing to use and the kids are more used to that. So I was really surprised on the amount of kids that have never used a Prezi before. So it was a really good exposure for them to that technology tool. And even exposing them to a new technology tool, I was really impressed on how tech savvy that they were. How they were able to click around on things and be able to figure out how things worked. The number one struggle that I had with kids was just formatting of subscripts, that they weren't able to do it for the multiple alleles. They were having a tough time doing that. But overall, they really had a great time doing it and they liked using this application of technology to present material instead of being just limited to using Google Slides. So they really seemed to enjoy it. For ELO kids, what I would do with it is basically I would have them for that technology tool. I would just give them more guidance on it. With the multiple alleles group that I just discussed, they were given more guidance on the example that I wanted them to go over. For the lesson that I observed our AP biology teacher, and what she was using technology for was pre-lab, which I thought was kind of interesting because typically pre-lab questions in a science classroom is just read the background information and then answer these questions, and then you can do the lab. How she was integrating technology is she had her kids watch an Edpuzzle. And basically what an Edpuzzle is she found a video on YouTube that went over what is photosynthesis, and it went through the process and explained it. But in that video, you can upload it to a website called Edpuzzle where you can integrate questions into it, which I thought was really interesting to use that as a pre-lab activity and a really cool way, again, to integrate technology in just a different way of presenting kids with that information. And even for ELL kids, that's an awesome visual for them to have going into the lab, which is something so great for them. For my reflection on this and how I would make it better is in Edpuzzle, you can actually crop the video. So the video that the AP biology teacher used, it was a little bit long. It was like a little over 7-minute video. And some of the information I felt was kind of repetitive in the video. It kept on repeating itself on certain areas, and also was kind of just repetitive off of the lab handout. So I would have done a little bit better job of cropping the video down to literally just using the minutes that I needed to use. The reflective Google form, what I mean by that is at the end of, as the kids are watching the video, yes, they're answering questions, and the teacher can manipulate what kind of questions that they're answering as the video pauses for them to answer them. But I would also maybe throw in there at the end of the lab a reflective Google form, just so I can really see that the kids are understanding the concepts that were being pulled out of that video. But the nice thing for ELL kids is what this really helps them with is their listening skills. And the nice thing about Edpuzzle is also really helps it be more self-paced for them at the same time, because it pauses the video at a certain point and they have to answer that question in order to go back, in order to move forward. They can go back and rewatch, so maybe they realize, oh, I didn't understand the point of the video up to this point. I should probably go back and watch it so I can answer this question to move forward. Overall, I thought it was a great technology tool that I can definitely start utilizing within my classroom fairly easily. The last part of my digital portfolio is looking at a new technology tool. And the tool that I chose that I thought was very interesting, because I've seen a few teachers use it in other subjects like history, is Flipgrid, to help integrate with classroom discussions. And basically what Flipgrid is, go to the website, is basically just a fun way to spark up conversation in your class, but with using technology. And the kids actually videotape themselves, and you guys can manipulate on here how long that they're videotaping. So I started one on a genetics topic. I'm actually going to use it later on this week, kind of just to get kids engaged with a recent kind of science scandal that's out there in the news, kind of just getting their thoughts on it. So it's not anything that's right or wrong. It's I'm providing them in class with an article. They have to read the article in class. We'll talk about it there a little bit. And then their homework is this Flipgrid. And basically what they have to do is they will videotape themselves, and I've limited it to 1.5 minutes. And basically, I just want, what are their thoughts on this CRISPR scandal? Is it something that should be looked more into? Can you actually believe his results? Are there going to be other kind of repercussions for this down the line with editing people's genes? Do we really think it works? Kind of just those things, and kind of have that also spark a different classroom discussion perhaps the next day, because maybe I can bring up that, oh, so-and-so brought up a really good point that I didn't even think about. This also could be used for if you want to ask kids questions, like after we covered review, send out a Flipgrid if you guys have any more questions that you want me to go over. It could be something simple as that, or it could be used for test review or final exam review as well. I just found it as an interesting, easy, fun way for kids to spark up a conversation. And also it's kind of fun because as they videotape themselves, they can also put like different decorations on them, like glasses and hats and fun stuff like that. So I thought it'd be a fun thing for the kids to do too. So that is my digital portfolio for the fall technology class.